Good day, Ted Ciuba here, author of and doing for you an author's review of Volume 10 in the sub 4-minute extra mile series. His new business called him on the phone. I believe you'll dig a little bit about this holo magic thing. And as always, I like to talk a little bit about what we're doing with the series, but I also like to take a look at the contents too. With each volume in the series, there's 19 individual training sessions, small, brief. That's why they're called sub 4 minutes. You gotta run the extra mile. But if you follow the insight that you learned from Roger Bannister, you can do it in intense sessions, sub 4 minutes. So we're going to look through, and of course we don't have time to look through them all, but we're going to at least say something about or notice guided by an instructional event and the evolving nature of goals. Put yourself into a situation in which you must perform. Got to be something important in that. Plan and deal with what emerges. Let those you know let those you love know that you love them today. His new business called him on the phone with 2 exclamation points, it looks like. That's the title training session. Title training session I always like to read. So, what is the series about? Well, Roger Bannister, our icon, sums it up real well. I mean, you got to run the extra mile. And that's the amazing thing is it's so little. It's only an extra mile, not the extra 100 miles. But it was Roger Bannister in sports history who defied and redefined history by running the sub 4-minute mile, an obstacle that had stood the test of time for 3,000 years. Roger Bannister didn't believe it. He put himself to work doing it. But the only problem is, he was a busy pre-med student at Oxford. He just didn't have much time, so he took a mere 30 minutes out of his lunch every day while he was at school, practice. That defied all conventional training. Boom, with that. So you see, boom, it couldn't have been time. Nope. How did he do it? It was intention. In the same way with these training sessions, you're gearing him to a purpose. In short, focused, regular, intense, intended time he threw into it. Cool stuff, huh? You defy the status quo in short, focused, regular, intense, intended training sessions. And redefine what's possible and what you accomplish. So as you can see, they look like articles, and people would confuse them as articles, except for the fact that the whole purpose is right here. Boom, you're supposed to reflect. What is it? And again, you got notes, and this is just typical way that I recommend as the author. You might want to just make a note of the brief passage or what it is and the insight you get. And again, you can see we're not saying too much brief, but you got plenty of room and you don't have to stay in the lines. What are you going to do about it, you know? It's so guided by the instructional event. You've heard the phrase, failure is not an option. Well, I tell you what, I hope those pilots that are flying me across the Pacific Ocean from the U.S. to Sydney, Australia, think that way, because it's not an option for me. But we all do encounter setbacks, and a setback, take it in spirit that it will make you better. Failure is not a destination. Use it. Be guided by the instructional event. And I don't know anybody, and I'll tell you for sure I don't know anybody who's successful who hasn't had a number of failures. The successful people, generally speaking, have had more failures than the normal people, simply for the fact that they've tried more things. That's why they're successful. Well, they're not trying helter-skelter. They're trying with a direction and focused, intense, intended, focused training. You got it? So Cool. Like living with the license of a higher order of beings. You got to know that's the quote that's kicked off from Thoreau. Adopt your mission sounds like a good thing. Never let reality get in the way. Creating the future. Money's not everything, but it's right up there with oxygen. The unexamined life is not worth living. Quote from Socrates. The evolving nature of goals. We put a lot of emphasis on creating goals and getting definite on what it is you want. Believe me, you without your definite chief aim burning in your heart and in your pituitary chakras, glowing and lighting your way, without that, how are you going to marshal and mobilize your resources, which happen to be the resources of all holocosm, to manifesting what it is you want if you don't have that? So you get your definite chief aim. However, it does a lot, man. You got to have that. Again, it eliminates a lot of things. But remember, things are always changing. And for instance, if you're like here, your goal is to purchase a place in Panama before some year begins, or to move to Chicago before some year begins. Well, those kind of goals, if they haven't happened on such and such a deadline date, you've got to do something, right? Now, you might have, maybe they say, got busy and made it happen. Maybe, but maybe sometimes it doesn't always happen. Quote, redefine, go, whatever. What we do have is that you've got to replace them with other goals. The evolutionary procession of goals is what's important. Goals will continue to progress, change, modify. Pieces of it will become outdated, obsolete, no longer relevant. Be a goal-setting mechanism, a goal-setting machine, and you will have a life of fulfillment, my friend. Look at that. It's just real brief. Like Houdini, put yourself in which you must perform. Announce it first. Announce it. And then you got to do it. All right, look at this. Look, let those you know. Here we are. The title of this one, trading piece. And I'm going to break my rule of reading one, and I'm going to read two. Obviously, the title piece, his new business called him on the phone, we're going to read. And I'd like to read this one that's very important. Let those you love know that you love them today. Here we are on the edge of civilized Panama. Pretty doggone close to Tocumen International Airport, the airport that serves Panama. And inside these lot lines, the grief, the well-wishing is serious. Rosendo Moreno, father of the clan, aged 74, passed away a few days ago. And the family is gathered. We're getting ready to go to the final service. Friends are gathering, well-wishers, those who want to encourage them and keep them from being alone. And outside this lot line, life goes on as normal. Airplanes are flying, taxi cabs driving, buses, trucks, people. The people walking down the sidewalk in front of the house don't even have any idea, any feeling, nor any connection with what's going on. We're so close here to the edge of civilization, the famous Darien jungle, the unexplored vasts of the rainforest of the Isthmus of Panama. There's so much promise there. There's so much savageness there. There's so much unknown. And at this point, it seems particularly appropriate when we're talking about... A lot of people have their theories about what happens after death. But call a spade a spade. We're living in a scientifically minded society. Anybody can have a belief. And it doesn't take any brains, any intelligence, any truth to have a belief. The fact is, it reminds me of the Darien Jungle or Hotel California. You can get into death, but you can never leave. And I see his favorite chair that now belongs to the mother, Carmen. Nobody ever sat in it when it was his. Nobody sits in it now that it's hers. The hammock's up. El Capitan, his favorite dog, the one that guarded the property, is still guarding the property. But there's a sadness in him. There's still other dogs barking in the neighborhood. To my left, there's an unfinished garden project. There's really so many questions, so many changes. And we do wish the family well. And we don't know what's going on. We do know that as a human, we've got our time. Then we disappear. And there's a few moments of grief among those who were close. And life goes on. Now, this is not a message that life goes on. It's a message that do what you can while you have the moments to live. Carpe diem. Seize the day. The things that you do live after you. Let those you love know that you love them today. You got that one, my friend. Carpe diem, seize the day. Let those you love know that you love them today, because you don't know, it could be you, could be them. None of us are here forever. May Senor Moreno rest in peace. And lift the tone a little bit, appreciably, thank you. His new business called him on the phone. When a person wants an excuse, any excuse will do. They often talk about some of the recent entrepreneurs who have become billionaires. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, the richest man in the world, Sergey Brin, Larry Page, those are the Google boys, Michael Dell with Dell Computers. And then we think, oh yeah, but they were in technology. I can't do that. I'm not good in technology. They were there at the beginning of the movement, and I've missed that. Like I said, when you want an excuse, any excuse will do. On the other hand, there's Colonel Harlan Sanders, who as a senior citizen goes out to farm with no resources, a business based on fried chicken. Now, what was new and revolutionary and new mega trend about fried chicken? What was new and revolutionary and a new mega trend about another hamburger like Ray Kroc offered? What was new and revolutionary and high-tech about another store where you can buy a few things, as Sam Walton created? And here is the kind of thinking you want to grab hold of. Michael O'Hagan, an entrepreneur from Australia, is doing $30 million worth of business a year nowadays. He has 500 employees. No wonder you don't hear about him. Because compared to people like Michael Dell and Bill Gates and Sergey Brin and Larry Page, he's small stuff. He admits he's not a big business person. On the other hand, $30 million a year. And it all happened when he had a survivalist, get-by attitude in business. He was selling second-hand merchandise. He was wheeling and dealing in that business, and those guys are notoriously not wealthy, even if they do have a following that brings them an income. He did what we always say to do. He got conscious. Oh. He decided exactly what he wanted. It was clear, well-formed. He had a definite direction, a definite chief aim. Though he had no way of connecting the dots in reality at the time he defined his dream. Side note, I present this to you as one of the clearest instances you'll ever encounter in visualization. This illustrates that it's not airy-fairy imagination or wishes supposedly pushed into the universe. It's, after careful consideration of the current and the desired circumstances, in the context of preferences, exactly what the man wanted. Huh? He knew. He could state it. Can you? I mean, can visualization be so simple as it obviously is? Quoting Michael O'Hagan from Queensland, Australia. At this point, I decided that what me personally wanted was to earn a heap of money every week and have the time to enjoy it. I figured out that the only way I could do this was to find something lots of people needed. Something that I could develop a great product for, that was easy to make sales in, that I could systematize so others could do it for me. The intention being to create a cash cow that I'd never sell, and I'd let it feed my lifestyle for life. Dudes, dudettes, are we talking about getting specific as we talk about with the formula for riches? Are we talking about visualizing clearly and knowing, you got to know before you can visualize exactly what you want? Are we talking about setting the demands, the parameters, so that you have the criteria so that you'll know if something is an acceptable thing to investigate or not? Look, I figured out the only way to do this was develop something or find something lots of people needed. Part of the formula. Something I could develop a great product for. See, it didn't necessarily, nowhere, where does it say gotta go something in high tech? It's something people need that I could develop a great product for. That's easy to make sales in. That's a good idea. That I could systematize so others could do it for me. Part of the plan. The intention being to create a cash cow that I'd never sell and let it feed my lifestyle for life. Part of the plan. Oh, Jiminy. Yes, and we are. And while he didn't turn that 18.6 billion business in 8 years, like some of the big stories, he did turn it into a $30 million annual business in 22 years. $30 million a year in 22 years. That's pretty respectable, my friend. That's big success in an industry like his. And you know what happened? He was in his second-hand business. And this is holo magic. I'm pointing it out to you. And one day, a neighbor was supposed to have some household things moved. However, the contracted moving company simply didn't show up. The lady calls Mike frantically because the movers, for just a small move, just a short distance, the people who were supposed to show up and bring the stuff from their other property were delayed, were late. They couldn't do it. The important thing is, she didn't call Mike for a solution or for help. As a human being and as a neighbor, she just needed someone to vent on. That was the purpose. However, Mike said, no big deal. I have a truck and a couple guys here, and we'll just come down and get stuff, and everything will go on just as good. Holo Magic strikes. Thus was his first day in his new business. Of course, he charged her a few bucks. He made a few bucks, and the light bulb went on. He solved the immediate problem. But do you see what I'm saying? He had a bigger vision, a goal, a demand, a request into the universe to deliver the business that he wanted that would care for him all the days of his life. I don't know about you, but I can live pretty decently on $30 million a year, even if it is gross. Be real gross if I had to try that. And it showed up on his front door. His new business, literally, we just had the story. His new business called him on the phone saying, I need someone to help me move some stuff. All he had to do was recognize and act on it. Those pretty big gulps. Recognize and act, which he did. Training session. The message is for you. Once you get clear, you move all the universe, and the opportunity that's right for you will literally come to you. Then it's up to you to act on it and make it what it can be. It's up to you to recognize it and get moving. It's up to you. Michael O'Hagan did something after that first day. The law of attraction brought the idea right smack in his door into his earbud saying, well, I've got a problem. Can you help me? I got a truck. I can help you. And he's in business that very day. It's up to you. Recognize it and get moving. It's up to you to do everything. But you don't have to think it has to be in one certain industry, in one certain way, or you've missed it and you can't hop on board. Those are the excuses of failures. It's up to you to get very clear on what you want, your definite chief aim. It's up to you to cut a slice through the universe and say, this is exactly what I want. And the universe will deliver. That's how Holo Magic works. That's how Michael O'Hagan shows you how it works. All right, friend. Thanks for tuning in with author Ted Ciuba. We have been doing an author review of his new business, Called Him on the Phone. And be sure to pick up your copy at thinkrich.com/phone.